Oh, yes. Hello, good afternoon, and thank you so very much for joining us. You are on to Hello Ladies on 94.5 Orient FM. My name is Joyce Unebu, and as always, I'm your host on the show today. And we are going to, like I've been promoting, I promoted it since last week. We are going to talk about divorce. So, why do divorces happen? We've talked about a lot of things. 10 lies men tell women in relationships, lies women tell men in relationships. And I recall that last week while we were talking about the lies that women tell men in relationships, some people were saying, Joyce, you're asking, this is actually one of the reasons why divorces happen. Yes, I posted it on my Facebook wall, and a lot of people have made comments concerning why divorces happen. And I would like us to now listen. Please pay attention. Let's hear from some people. I went to town with this question, and some people responded. I got some respondents who talked to us about these reasons. I got about 7 people. You can imagine, a lot of people. Some of them married. I got a priest. A priest is number one person who's going to speak. A counselor. He's a priest. He's a counselor. He has encountered a lot of things. He has met a lot of couples with issues. He has counseled so many people. Reverend Father Dr. Donald is his name, and he will be talking to us. He's the spiritual director of Pastoral Center Owerri, Assumpta Pastoral Center Owerri. He will be the first voice you will hear. Other people chose to be anonymous. There was a mother among them, a parent. There are couples, people who are still in marriage, and there are young people, single people also among the respondents. Please pay attention, and let's now listen to what they had to say to us. First of all, let's listen to Father Donald.
Yeah, one of the reasons why we have high divorce rates today is faithlessness in God. Once humanity departs from God, then men and women can choose wrong alternatives.
Exactly.
And one of the wrong alternatives is a breakage in marriage. And formerly marriage used to be a contract, used to be referred as a contract. But today it is a covenant. Okay. And that covenant relationship must bring God in. It's just like the book Archbishop put in one of the books he wrote and called it Three to Get Married. Okay. Which means the husband, the wife, and then God himself. Then when husband and wife take out to God and think that they can solve marital problems, which must come, when they think they can solve it alone, then there is that impossibility of solution to the problems in marital life, and then breakage sets in. This is just one of the ample reasons. Another one is there is growth in selfishness today. Unlike before, altruistic love is departing, and which is selfless love. Today, people, because of the influence of scientism and technology, then people are acting like robots. They're acting like robots, being controlled by machines. And that is taking away their consciences, But unlike before, when faith was ruling, instead of necessarily reason, then the problem of selfishness, individualism comes in. That is why it is more in the European world, this Western world, where individualism and selfishness are the growth. Okay. But here in Africa, I think we are more of a communal society than individual society, and that affects our marital life as well. Let me give you just this two. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Father.
All right, and that was Reverend Father. He's Reverend Father Dr. Donald Anyagwa, the spiritual director of Assumpta Pastoral Center, speaking to us there about some of the reasons why divorces happen. Remember, that's the topic today. Why do divorces happen? And that was the priest. There's a counselor as well. Now, let's take from another respondent, a young man who is a husband and father. Here he comes. Why do divorces happen?
Divorces happen today in marriages because couples, to a large extent, we are not patient with ourselves or are not patient with one another. In many of the cases I have seen, we find out that the reasons why couples separate or divorce are due to one or two things that we can easily let go or forgive the other person.
Exactly.
If we don't endure, because as human beings we are all imperfect, and the husband must know that the wife is imperfect, and the wife must equally know that the husband is imperfect. Once we accept this, then whatever we see in marriages, we will learn to accommodate or to endure. And once that endurance is not there, that's why you see many people today breaking up, or many homes or marriages breaking up. And another thing again, once God is not there in marriages, for a marriage to really work, there must be God at the center. And once couples don't involve God in their marriages, then definitely in no distant time, you see that marriage cannot stand. And again, sometimes at the beginning of marriages, we see what we call deceit. People preparing for marriages are not sincere to open up and let the man or the woman know what he or she does or what he or she has. And in the course of marriages after wedding, by the time they start finding out who the other person truly is,
exactly,
then divorce can also come up, and there's nothing that can save such marriages.
All right.
So God created man and woman, or God ordained the sacrament of marriage. We encourage husbands and wives to learn to accommodate each other, so that the purpose of God establishing marriage will be made manifest in our lives. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you very much. God bless you.
Thank you so very much. That's another respondent. He's a father, a husband, and a father, like I said earlier. He talked about forgiveness. Realizing that individuals are not perfect people, and you're living with another imperfect creature, so you've got to learn to forgive. Let's take another respondent, a mother. This one is a wife and mother. Let's listen to her.
For me, I would say that men are very, very jealous, and they seem to, whatever they are fought for to get, it should be theirs and theirs alone. So, in terms of being possessive of that particular thing they have, they will not want any other person to interfere. I'll take for instance, when we were dating with my husband, the first thing I asked him that, what will make you get angry with me and say, let's take a break, not even divorce? He said, for me, no matter how godly I am, I don't want the issue of adultery. And with that, he said, that's the only thing that will make him to say, go back to your parents.
Okay.
So, adultery
is a reason. Can be a reason for
can be a reason. A major reason for divorce.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sweet.
Yeah, that's really sweet. Adultery, unfaithfulness in marriage can be a major reason for divorce, according to that last respondent. Now let's take another respondent. It's I think it's a mother now, and not a young man this time.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Everybody in the house. I am Lady Vivian Dimuchuku of Assumpta Pastoral Center Owerri. Divorce, as I think or I know, happen because many marriages are not based and rooted on God's blessing. And these God's blessings begin with blessings from parents. Because the word of God says, any child that is obedient to the father does the will of God. And any child that respects the mother pays for his sins. So, on this, youths of today depart and go on their own to say marriage is that between the two, a union of just the two. You cannot imagine that a child courts a spouse, an intended spouse, for 2 good years without the parents knowing that they were courting. It was almost during their wedding that they now like, let's let them know. Somebody hit such a lifetime program from parents. By shying away from this, you have shied away from everything, including the blessing of the parents. And here, the girl now took it for granted because nobody is watching her, nobody knew about what she was doing, and she can go ahead and hide herself for the rest of the courtship. And the moment they say, I do, come and see problems, because she brought out all that she has been hiding. Because nobody was there to see all these things. As adults, there are things you see beyond the roof, the things that this boy cannot see.
But it's true.
But because the boy was blindfolded, whatever he might call love, and at the end of it all, he came to see that it was not real. So I believe that the blessing of God and blessing of parents should be the beginning. In as much as when they get married, you won't go to live with them in their house, but this should be the bedrock. This should be where this marriage of a thing should be hinged. I am talking out of my parents bless my family, and when this happens, not like everything will be all roses, but whatever you see there, you will be able to sit on them and believe that God will eventually make you overcome and bring make that marriage successful. Come with me. And another thing is infidelity. Infidelity among nobody. Any right thinking woman will always say men are jealous. No, it's not only men that are jealous. Unless the woman is not God fearing, we can now allow anything to go. But if the woman is equally responsible and is God fearing, we will abhor infidelity with passion, just like the man can. And I believe all these are the things that culminate into breakdowns and divorces in marriages and relationships.
Thank you very much. God bless you.
Yes, that was Lady Vivian Imochukwu. As she introduced herself there, she chose not to remain anonymous. She's a mother, and she spent more years in marriage. I think she's a grandmother as well, but still a very young one. Now, there are more. Let's hear from more people. And
Well, there are many reasons divorces do happen. One of them, I would say, is distraction. Many couples seem to have a lot of distractions from friends, from family members, and members of the public. For instance, when a man or a woman have friends that talk about things that can be done, to get back on your partner when there is an issue, such a thing can trigger divorce without the person knowing it, because they might tell you, look, since your husband is doing it, or maybe he's in a situation of infidelity, they will tell you, okay, fine, since you're suspecting him and that he's doing it, even though you've not caught him red-handed, you can also do yours. After all, he's 1-1. You see, the lady might want to toe their line, and at the end of the day, destroy her marriage. So distractions, listening to outsider side talks. So I feel that the best way to solve that is by opening room for communication, dialogue, discuss with your partner when there are issues and find a way of settling it within yourselves instead of involving outsiders, because that can trigger distraction. My name is Eustace Okere.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Eustace Okere. Eustace Okere is still single, so, and that was a very smart thing he said. And finally, let's take the last respondent.
Why do divorces happen?
Well, there could be many reasons why divorces happen, but I think the bottom line of it is that people should learn to forgive each other. Now, if the couples could learn to forgive each other, because there's no perfect marriage anyway. So if they could learn to forgive each other, no matter what it could be, they could settle their differences. Thank you very much. I'm Engineer Andy Duru.
Thank you.
Oh yes, I love that, Engineer Andrew Duru. There is no perfect marriage. I hope everybody's listening. If you think, well, this marriage is made in heaven. Yeah, people say some marriages are made in heaven. Oh, well, maybe. You can also claim yours was made in heaven. You heard all these very useful contributions to the program today from people just like you and me. Some of them married in marriage for many years, some of them young couples, some of them single. Varied opinions of people giving reasons why marriages fail. Somebody talked about distractions, bringing a third party that is not God into your marriage, being influenced by friends outside the marriage. That can cause a lot of harm. Oh well, you heard the correspondence. We shall go on a brief break now, and when we return, we now explore our own reasons. I have them written down here. And then we also talk about consequences and what can be done. Is divorce really, really final? Or is it the last option? Some people say, I've read some of the comments on my on my Facebook wall. Some people are saying, to be honest, there are circumstances that require the couples or the spouses to separate. Maybe when somebody wants to kill somebody, for instance, issues of wife battery, beating up a woman all the time. Some people say, well, even at that, you could still work at it. I don't know. But others say, no, quit before you die. We go on a break. And when we come back, we explore more reasons. Stay with us. You know how to give good music. Chill, baby. After all this now, every marriage begins with love. Romance like this one, this song. I don't know. I don't think love is not enough. Love is not enough.
Are you coming in June or July? Tell me now. Or will I have to wait till November or December? Chilly baby, when are you coming? Chilly baby,
Yeah.
when are you coming? I wanna know now. When are you coming? Oh, chilly baby, when are you coming? I wanna know. Chilly darling, darling, darling.
Chilling die. Sweetie.
Remember the good days, remember the good times. I am wishing to hold you in my arms again, where I can kiss your lips and feel like touching. Many, many things, baby, you're gonna like it. You're gonna like it. Tell me when it's gonna be. When are you coming on back to me? I wanna know. Are you coming in June or July? Tell me now. Or will I have to wait till November or December? Chilly baby, when are you coming? Chilly
has changed here? I wanna know, when are you coming, chili baby, chili honey, 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 chili darling, darling, darling. You see, that's how it tastes at the beginning. Marriages can be very, very sweet. Otokara manang, you know, otokara sugar. At the beginning, you know, when the guy chides you and tells you you're the best thing that has ever happened to him. Woo! You are sweeter than honey, my darling. You are more beautiful than the queens that ever lived on planet Earth. These are the words. These are chili baby, my honey, my darling. All these expressions. And we want to know what happened at the end of the day. What happened between this period of chili baby, chili honey, and at the end, at the extreme, when the whole thing collapses, what went wrong? And that's what we are exploring on the show today on Hello Ladies. Why do divorces happen? Should they happen at all? Are there situations where absolutely necessary? That's what we are talking about. Welcome back to the show. In the first part of the show, the first 30 minutes, we had been listening to respondents. We went to town to talk to people, you know, a wide variety of people, different segments of society, from the church, religion, from the family, couples. We talked to couples, we talked to mothers and even grandmothers, people with long experience who've been in marriage for a long time. We also talked to single people. You heard all of them, all that they had to say. And every single one of them said something very, very reasonable, something that's very, very important, something that could help those whose marriages are at the brink of collapse. You never know. Like I said on my Facebook wall, your idea today, what you say, what you contributed could go a long way towards helping somebody take a decision to work harder at his or her marriage. Now, at first, how it was at first, of course, it was sweet, like the song illustrated. It was sweet, it was honey, 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 it was sweetie, 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 it was darling, darling, darling at the beginning. You meet a woman and you fall in love with her. What went wrong? From that moment on, what happened? Somebody during when we are listening to our respondents, somebody talked about lack of forgiveness. You catch your man at, you know, something. He's done bad. Maybe he admits it. He's sorry. He apologizes. He weeps. He begs for forgiveness. And you tighten your heart. You refuse to forgive. You see, it can cause a lot of problems because as long as you haven't forgiven, you're angry, and the anger builds up over time, and it could lead you to decide to walk away. You are a man, you catch your woman at some wrongdoing, because it's not just men too, and you refuse to forgive her. Only yesterday I heard a story of a man who dared to forgive his wife, even after learning that the child they had together was not his. What a man. That's a wonderful story, honestly. He forgave her, and today they're still living happily as husband and wife. But I was wondering, it is a true life story. I was asking the guy who told me the story. When he looks at that young child, I wonder what goes on in his mind. You know, men and their ego and their pride. Oh, well, now let's talk about the marriages hit a rough part. All marriages, with no exception. All marriages, like somebody said then while we were listening, somebody said, no marriage is perfect. And of course, before ever I come on air on this show, I always go do some research. I went to some relationship sites, marriage related sites, and I got some information there. From one of them, I got this: all marriages hit a rough patch at one point or the other. There's no perfect marriage, so you've got to work on your own marriage. Now, let's talk about some of these other factors why divorces happen. We explore them. We also talk about the consequences. Who suffers the most when there's a divorce? Who? Well, I got first-hand information from a young woman from a divorced home, and she said it wasn't easy while growing up without her mom. Of course, it can never be easy without your mom around. There are lots of things mothers do. Who fills in? The father can't fill in the role of a mother. You see, God is amazing. That's why he brought these two people together, because each of them has a role, an important one for that matter. Now, the first one I have on my list is incompatibility. The mistake sometimes begins at the very beginning. Please don't marry because, well, everybody else is married, I'm left alone, blah, blah, you're desperate and you jump in without, they say, look before you leap. What there's a saying, you know the saying, but this one you decided not to leap. Even when you're being told, people, they say love wears double lens these days. Maybe yours, it's just your natural eyes. But people wearing double lens are seeing things you're not seeing. And they're telling you, look, you're hell-bent on going in. You want to get married. You want to answer Mrs. You know this guy, you're not compatible with this guy. I once received a letter from a young girl, and she said all the time while they were dating, she's always had this feeling that this young man is not good for her. So she is not completely sure, you know. And what happened, according to her letter to me, she said she had to summon up courage on the day of the traditional wedding ceremony, before it's too late, to break off the marriage. My goodness, what courage. I admired her guts, you know, and also admired her courage. She realized that this will not work. If it's this way now, what would it be like when I'm tied to him, you know? So she did the mathematics in her head and decided, she confided in her mother, Mom, I can't go on with this. Her mother yelled and jumped and screamed, but she said, no, you are not the one going into that marriage, it's me. So the earlier I break it off, the better. And she did. Wow. I had to, many years ago, I read out her letter to encourage others. If you're not sure, not compatible at all, please don't continue with it. This is because you might eventually break up and divorce. You now be a divorcee. You see. All right, now there's immaturity. There are lots of immature men and women, especially on the part of the men. You see a man who is ready, who is ever ready to quarrel and exchange hot words with a woman. You see, that kind of man is not ready for marriage. Because women come with a lot of baggage, you know. Women are such complex creatures. Women are they are prone to offending you time and time again, because they have these cycles that come when they get easily irritated, they get depressed and all of that. During that time, they can back at you and do things that will annoy you. And they can even pick up quarrels, and you start exchanging words with a woman. She tells you one, you tell her two. Oh, no. No, now. A grown, mature man, we know best how to handle it. You know what you do? You ignore. Not really ignore. You overlook. You stay patient. So immaturity is another factor that could eventually lead to divorce, because when you are not mature, it will be hard to forgive, it will be hard to overlook certain small faults. You pick little things, that don't really matter. You make a molehill, you make a mountain out of a molehill, and before you know it, it's so big and it's grown out of control. And the next thing you know is, I'm fed up. Okay? Especially among the so-called educated people. They know so much. We are not patient. This is a day, like the Reverend Father said when we were listening to the audio, voices. He said, this is an age of we are too selfish. We are not ready to pay attention to the next person, to be patient with the next person. We are impatient. We want to, each and every one of us, may God help us. So immaturity is a factor, a huge one, that could lead to marriage breakup. There's also deception. That's a big one. One of the respondents mentioned this, deception. When you deceive, you marry out of deceit. The person, while inside the marriage, the person finds out. I was reading something recently on social media when they said a woman told her new husband, right there after the vows, that she had children. That was when she chose to tell him, and the guy collapsed, that she had how many grown-up kids on her own. While she was in her mother's house, she had kids. She never told this guy until after the marriage ceremony. Do you think that marriage will last? I think not. That's deceit. Why didn't you tell him the whole truth? Okay? There's something about your family, about your life that is serious. You hide all of them. You don't tell him or you don't tell her. And you marry her based on that platform. Do you know in the Catholic Church, that's what they call ab initio, no marriage, non grata. There was no marriage at all in the first place. For instance, if a man knows by nature that he's not able, he doesn't have the capability to make a woman pregnant, to have a child, he cannot have a child, he cannot have children, he's sterile, he's impotent and stuff like these are serious matters. And you hide it from the woman, you deceive her into marriage. The church, if you were a Catholic, the Catholic Church can annul that marriage. They said, why? Not that they support divorce. No, because the argument is ab initio, since it was laid on a deceitful platform, there was no marriage. That's the argument. That ab initio, initially there was no marriage. The marriage was not in existence. Everything was a farce. So it was not a marriage. You see, so deceit is one factor that could also lead to divorce. A man finds out that in your family, in your lineage, there's insanity. And you didn't tell him. I know a girl, a family, they had this insanity problem. Her mom used to have time and time during some seasons, the thing will trigger off and she will become, she will lose her ability to, relate with people normally. She will lose her normalcy. But you know what? She met this guy who fell in love with her. She's highly educated from a very rich family. You know what happened? She told him everything. Look, this is my mom. This is the state of my family. My mother even has it. It's in our family. Blah. And do you know what happened? The guy still married her. Today, they are happily married with 3 kids. Honestly, in this country. So you see, things like this, deception is very bad. It could lead to divorce eventually. So if you're listening to me now, you have a secret. You've met somebody. You've already performed your traditional marriage ceremony. Something you think is serious. And you're hiding it from that man who lives abroad because he doesn't live here. Because he hasn't done his homework well to, ask questions about your family and all of that. You're hiding it from him. You better, this is Christmas coming. He may be home. Please tell him. He will not leave you. He will appreciate the fact that you summoned up this courage to let him know. Pray about it and tell him. Okay? Now, infidelity is another factor here that I have on my list. Some of our respondents mentioned infidelity, of course, being adulterous, using the biblical language now. Infidelity means not being faithful to your husband or to your wife. It cuts across the board, not just the women. Over here, they say, there's a silly saying that many men use. They say, if I catch you, you go. If you catch me, you go. That's silly. Very, very silly. It shouldn't be like that. After all, 2 of you went to the altar to swear, right? Before God, though. Don't mess with God, though. Hey, what did I say? Hold your ear. Don't mess with God, though. Remember what Achebe wrote in her. He said, God's case. What? Complete it for me. God's case, no appeal. In Nigeria, we have appeal court. We appeal. We have Supreme Court. But when God is the ultimate court. So who are you appealing to again? That's what it means. God's case, no appeal. Don't mess with God. Don't say, it's only the woman. And don't trivialize the marriage vows because of your ego, manly ego. You think you're a man, you have license, with permission. No. When God catches you, when God remembers you, St. Paul talked about it's a terrible thing for a man to do what? To fall into the hands of the Almighty. He will lash you. That's your manly ego will disappear by force. Fire by force. So pay attention. It's not just the marriage vow is not just for the women to keep. It's for both sexes. Don't mess with God. If you would rather not keep your, then don't go to God's altar to lie. Some people are there eyeing some women, and you're lying before God, telling him to hold and to cherish in sickness and in health. I'll be faithful to you, blah, blah, blah. But you think it's a children's game on Disney World, It's not a game. It's a serious thing. Because you, of your own free will, have involved God. So be careful. Infidelity. Nobody is permitted to be unfaithful to each other in marriage. Nobody. Both people are bound by the marriage vows. So don't kid yourself saying, it's for the woman to keep the vows. No way. Everyone has to keep that vow or those vows. Now, sexual incompatibility. Most times, especially in this part of the world, we overlook this very important factor. I recall, I think I've mentioned it here before, a young woman wrote me a letter. She said she's hardly satisfied sexually. Her husband doesn't satisfy her sexually. That was what she said. But that she was afraid. She doesn't know how to discuss it. Because in our culture, we were raised in a certain way. Women shouldn't bring up issues of sex. But that is, I don't want to say boo something here now on air. I'm on air. But that's nonsense, of course. These days, women should talk before your wife begins to cheat on you. Encourage her to talk. Ask her whether she's happy, she's satisfied, whether she enjoyed it and all of that. Ask her what she wants, what she would like you to do to make her happy. She has every right to enjoy too. Some men over here, some men say, thank you, bye-bye, ma'am, good night. And you turn the other way and you're asleep. You're not serious. You've got to make that man, you've got to satisfy the woman, make her happy. And the woman is there, awake, while you're already snoring away, sleeping. After how many? Just a few minutes. It's bam, thank you, ma'am, good night. You're sleeping. Why she's there, wondering what happened. She didn't understand what happened. She doesn't know. She's still trying to figure it out. And you're already sleeping. Where? So this is a problem. Sexual incompatibility. Talk about intimacy. You're intimate. They are the most intimate people. Okay? If you don't open up to your husband, who else would you open up to? Tell him how you feel. Tell her how you feel. Talk about your sex life. You are married. And God won't frown at that. He gave you permission, okay? So it's a big problem too, especially in this part of the world. That's why many women seem to be moving out of their marital homes, seeking for sexual satisfaction in some cases. Why? Because they are not satisfied in the home. That's what one woman wrote to me about. She said, of course, she wasn't unfaithful to her husband, but she was feeling deprived. She was feeling not so happy, not fulfilled, that area. And she said, I'm so scared to talk about it because if I tell him about it now, he may even beat me and say I'm a prostitute. That kind of thing. So this is a problem. I hope if some men are listening, please begin to discuss such intimate matters with your wives. Get them happy so that there will be no excuse to cheat. Now, that's sexual incompatibility, addictions. Women who married alcoholics, men who married alcoholics, drug addicts, all of these factors can lead to marriage breakups. A man can endure for a while and decide, I've had it, no more. A woman can also endure for a while. You're married to an alcoholic, you've talked and talked, he refuses to stop, he doesn't want to listen to you, he keeps drinking. An impatient woman can get impatient, a woman can get tired, a woman can get tired and decide it's all over, I'm quitting, and leaves you all alone, and you find yourself alone and lonely. You see, divorce don't happen with that one though. So you see now, addictions can also cause divorce. Early marriage, this is a big factor. I've never liked early marriage, no matter what. People say, people only look at the children are big, they are growing with their children. What about the woman? Was she happy? Many women marry 18, 19, 20, they don't know nothing, they don't know anything. And they stay in your house. Some men think they are being smart. They will go and marry one small girl from the village. And she's only 18. You bring her out. I'm sorry. When that girl becomes 30, maybe you get her exposed. You send her to the university. She will now open eye and say, is this what I'm missing? You don't dabarubi that one though. Early marriage. I was surprised to see this in the relationship website I researched in. They listed early marriage as one of the reasons too. By the time she knows what's happening, she grows to full womanhood. She may not find you attractive. She may now know new things and she may decide to leave you. So this may be a factor as well. And there's marrying for the wrong reasons. This is also for a factor. The reason that everybody around, all my mates are married. Bam, bim, bim, bam. You jump in. It can happen to any man or woman. You jump in without looking carefully, you know. You jump in and before you know it, you jump out again. You also marry because he's rich, he has money. What if the money finishes when you come in? You're basically, the platform under which you came in is gone. So what's next? She's beautiful and you marry her. When she enters your house, you discover that she's zero character. What happens? You see, all these things. You look well before going in. I am of age. Some men will tell you I'm of age, but they're not psychologically of age. They're not mature enough for the these things of women, this mess of women. Okay, you can't handle it. You beat her, and from beating her wife battery, the woman may decide to leave you. So when you have to be a mature man is ready to take the smell. We call it smell in Nigeria, you know now. The smell of women. Many of us women have a lot of smell about us. It takes only a mature man. We talked about maturity. Lady, don't marry an immature man because that marriage may not last. Okay? Now, money. Money is an issue too. They talked about money. Whoop, physical appearance. This is crazy. You don't just marry for physical appearance. People, how can you marry a girl because she's pretty? That's the only reason. How can you marry a guy because he's cute, he's handsome? And most of these handsome men, you marry them very lazy to the bone. They can't provide for you. All they have to offer is that their fine face. So, and you're dying of hunger. You're not serious. So don't marry for the wrong reasons, okay? For physical appearance, that's not the right reason. Lack of communication is important too. When there's a problem, you don't talk, you don't open up, talk to each other. You did this the other time. I don't like it. Tell him you don't like what he did. Tell him you don't like the way she talked back to you. Tell him you don't like the way she dressed. All of that. Open up, talk. Talk it out with Joyce. I have a show like that. You know, you can see it on my YouTube channel. Talk it out with Joyce. We come together and talk. Talking is very important. It's very necessary for a marriage to really last. Lack of communication could be a reason, a factor, and then lack of forgiveness. It's very important. Forgive. Let's learn to forgive. May God help us to always forgive. It's very difficult to forgive. I'm always afraid of people who tell I've forgiven her. It's not true. Just like that, with a wave of hand. No, now you're lying. When somebody really hurts you deep, it takes time, man. You're human. That's why it takes time. You don't just say, anyway, it's gone. It's not true. I'm always careful of such people. I forgive easily. They tell you, I forgive. It's not true. They still hurt you when they get the chance. So be wary of them. So we forgive. May God help us. It's the Holy Spirit that forgives inside of us. And then, of course, there is God, the God factor. Many of our respondents talked about the God factor. You've got to invite the third person who should only be God. Because God instituted marriage and only He knows the secret of what He instituted. The whole idea of marriage began at the Garden of Eden. Garden of Eden, but what happened before God brought Eve? I will never forget what one of the general overseers I respect so much said about this. I think that was Tukumuyi, who talked about, you see a young boy, you don't have a job, you don't have any source of income, and you want to get married. Why? How would you support your wife and the kids that will come? He said, before God created Eve, Adam had a home, the Garden of Eve. Adam had beautiful trees and fruits. The house was ready before Eve came along. You see, I loved that analogy. And ever since I read about that, I've not forgotten. Oh, well, there are lots of people, comments, so many people. Amuneke Kennedy Emeka, thank you very much. And Oloma Chukunyere, how are you doing? Thank you. Engineer Mike Chika, good afternoon, Mike. Prince Khan is watching. Princess Lynn, thank you. Iro Chikereba, that's my little cousin. How are you? All the way from Italy. Good to see you there. Vivian Chiamaka Iwaja, how are you? Thank you. Alex Nwahiri, Oga Alex. Good afternoon. Esther Chima, our own Esther is watching too and listening. Eles Rosie Chima, how are you? That's my baby girl at Ozisa. Salem, good to see you. Can we contribute now? Yes, but not via the telephone, please. Drop your comments here. Kudos, Joyce. Indeed, you're not just a journalist, but a researcher too. Thank you. God bless you. To add my voice to the program, deceit, unforgiveness, cheating, lack of trust, etc. are common reasons for divorce. But people should learn how to marry who they love and not who is ready, because forgiveness is easy when you thoroughly love your partner. That's Amuneke Kennedy Emeka. That's so true. When you love somebody, you can forgive them anything. Prince Arinze Alabeke, he said, laugh out loud. Some people go into marriage not because they love themselves, but rather to satisfy their material needs, etc. The clergyman should focus more on teaching people the importance of trust in a relationship and marriage than love. Okay, in other words, love is not enough, according to you. Dede Wallachs, Ihezie, how are you? Thank you. He said, the grace of God is paramount in every relationship and marriage. Freddie Kano Kante is watching too. Esther said, this is my best edition. Wow. Thank you, Esther. Thank you very much. Chigozie Ike is watching. Prince Kani, divorces do happen because the love died. I like this one. Something will definitely cause the love to die. Whatever it is, the bottom line is the love died, right? That's what he said. The love died. Some people don't understand that love is like a living thing, just like we have plants and flowers in our homes. When we don't take care of them, like watering and weeding, they die. I'm sorry, I can't write much here. A husband and wife who are still in love will never get a divorce. Taking care of the love from dying is the responsibility of both of them. It takes patience, tolerance, perseverance, forgiveness, and trust to make it work. As one person said, there's no perfect marriage. This is Prince Kani, all the way from Hanoi in, I think, in Asia. Thank you. Salem said, reasons for divorce differs for both the husband and wife. There are many, but let me dwell on 3 points. For men, lack of equality and loss of identity can make them walk out of the marriage. Oh, really? This is good one. You said, that's a long one, okay? This is when you rub it on his face. He is not man enough because of your present level in the society. Men would look for ways and bid the marriage farewell. Infidelity is the second one you pointed out. I don't urge this at all, because if you are crying out your eyes that your husband cheated on you, once you're out, he will remarry immediately. Abuse. This is a two-way thing, but it's sad that men don't speak up when they are abused by their wives, just as women don't speak up when their husbands rapes them. In as much as I don't preach divorce, nobody should stay in a bad marriage. This is Salem or her game. Salem, this is so good. It's true. Men also get abused, but they don't talk about it. Just as sometimes women get raped by their husbands, but they don't talk about them. The Golden Voice of Orient, I love your program. That's Frederick Anukante. Thank you. Maria Chinwe Maibokwe, every little thing matters in marriage. Talk it over. Don't sideline issues and act like your spouse is being petty. Once it accumulates, it busts. Thank you. Annie Hezue, thank you. Gushe Stephen, Chai, I don't come early. I didn't come early. Oh, you missed it. Maule, but thank you, ma'am, for joining us. A visit to our customary courts will convince any doubting Thomas that marriages are being dissolved daily, and it has become a fashion. Relationships that started with great promises and all the romance in the world are falling apart. Thank you very, very much. I had to stop there. Ugumsin Achio Sondo, lack of tolerance can cause divorce. They want to ask, can lack of sexual satisfaction bring divorce? That's your question. Of course. If so, is it the man's fault? Talk it over. I will also add 2 expectations and third-party interference ranked up on the list. Frank Uchedibia, thank you very much. Ugochukwu Onye Media, we should all be tolerant of each other. No one is perfect. Engineer Henry Chinedu is watching. Henry, you didn't comment anything. Well, I think that's how we have to go. But finally, quickly, the consequences. Children are neglected. They are the victims. They suffer a lot. Many of them lose their self-confidence. Many of them become timid because they feel inadequate in front of other kids with healthy homes. And there's mental breakdown in some cases. Some women do have problems, mental issues because of divorce. it destroys people's self-esteem, among so many other consequences. Well, dear listener, this is where we really have to go, because it's been a beautiful topic. We do hope that every marriage that is sick should be healed and touched by the healing hand of our Lord Jesus. Amen. Please bring God into your marriages. Be tolerant, be forgiving, and be outspoken. Talk to Him. Believe in talk. Encourage talking to each other. Communication is the key. I love you all so very much. Goodbye. Until same time next week, when we gather again to talk about something also that is beautiful. Bye-bye.